Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen, rubbing her tired eyes as she checked the numbers for the 5th time. The coffee beside her had gone cold hours ago, forgotten in the growing horror of what her data revealed. Every reading from the Sacramento Observatory's main telescope showed the same pattern. Stars across the galaxy were cooling down much faster than they should. "This can't be right," she muttered, pulling up another set of measurements. But the evidence was there, clear as day. Stars were losing energy at 10 times their normal rate, and the effect was spreading. A knock on her office door made her jump. Dr. David Miller, her gray-haired mentor, poked his head in. "Sarah, you've been here all night again, haven't you?" "David, I need you to look at this." Sarah waved him over, pointing at the graphs on her screen. "Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm seeing things." David leaned in, his bushy eyebrows drawing together as he studied the data. The silence in the room grew heavier with each passing second. Finally, he straightened up, his face pale. "Have you checked other observatories?" "Already did. Beijing, Cape Town, Chile. They're all seeing it. Something is draining the stars of their energy, and it's spreading fast." As if to emphasize her point, the morning sunlight coming through her window dimmed slightly. Both scientists rushed to the window. The sun looked normal to the naked eye, but their instruments told a different story. Earth's star was getting colder, bit by bit. Sarah was about to speak when a deep rumble shook the building. Running to the observatory's main deck, they saw what looked like a tear in the sky. A massive ship, unlike anything human engineers had ever built, was descending through the clouds. Its surface gleamed like liquid mercury, and strange lights pulsed along its hull. "My God," David whispered, "we're not the only ones who noticed." The alien ship landed in the empty field next to the observatory. No military arrived to stop it. They were probably too shocked. A door opened in the ship's side, and 3 tall, slender figures stepped out. They had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer, and their large eyes reflected light like a cat's. To everyone's surprise, the aliens spoke perfect English through some kind of translator. "We are the Luminary," the tallest one said. "We come seeking refuge. Our sector of space has already gone dark." Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Dark? You mean the stellar cooling effect?" "Yes." The alien's voice carried deep sadness. "The void entities have awakened. They feed on stellar energy, leaving nothing but cold, dead stars in their wake. We have been running for months, looking for others who might help us fight back." David joined them, his notepad already in hand. "These void entities, what are they exactly?" "We don't know their true nature," another alien answered. "They appear as patches of absolute darkness, moving between stars. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be stopped by any weapons we possess, and they are coming this way." As if on cue, several of the observatory's alarms began blaring. Sarah rushed to the nearest terminal, her hands shaking as she pulled up the latest readings. A massive dark spot had appeared at the edge of the solar system, moving inward at impossible speeds. "How much time do we have?" she asked the aliens. "Without intervention, perhaps 6 months before your sun begins to fail significantly. A year at most before it goes completely cold." The luminary leader looked at the humans gathered around them. "But we didn't come just to warn you. We came because our long-range scans showed something unique about Earth's civilization." "What do you mean?" David asked. "Your species has an unusual grasp of nuclear physics and energy manipulation. You're closer than you know to creating artificial stars." The alien's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "We believe that together we might find a way to fight back against the darkness." Sarah looked at David, then back at the aliens. Her mind was already racing with possibilities. If they could find a way to generate stellar energy artificially, to replace what the void entities were stealing, "Then we better get to work," she said firmly, "because I'm not about to let the stars go out without a fight." The luminary nodded in approval, while behind them, the sun continued to dim, ever so slowly. The race to save not just Earth, but every living thing in the galaxy had begun. 2 months after the luminary arrived, Earth had changed. The sun was noticeably dimmer now, and people kept their lights on even during the day. In the cold morning air outside the Sacramento Observatory, Captain Robert Hayes watched his breath-formed clouds as he waited for Dr. Chen. The massive shape of his ship, the Phoenix, stood behind him. It was humanity's newest vessel, built in secret before anyone knew about the dying stars. Now it would serve a different purpose than its designers had planned. Sarah Chen hurried out of the building, carrying a large metal case. Dark circles under her eyes showed how little she had slept. "Sorry I'm late, Captain. The final calculations took longer than expected." "Just tell me we can power up Project Prometheus," Robert said, falling into step beside her as they walked toward the ship. "We can. The luminary helped us solve the containment problem." Sarah patted the case. "This device should let us create a small artificial star. Very small, but it's a start." They boarded the Phoenix through its main ramp. Inside, teams of scientists and engineers rushed around, checking equipment and running tests. The ship had been transformed into a moving laboratory. In the main testing chamber, David Miller was working with 2 luminary scientists. They stood around a large round platform that hummed with energy. This was the heart of Project Prometheus, humanity's attempt to create artificial starlight. "Are we ready?" Robert asked as they entered. David looked up from his computer, "As ready as we'll ever be. But Captain, you should know, this is dangerous. If the containment fails." "We all know the risks," Robert cut in. "But every day we wait, more stars die. The void entities are getting closer to our solar system." Sarah opened her case and carefully removed a glowing blue cylinder. She placed it in the center of the platform, while everyone moved back behind the safety shields. The cylinder contained a new type of fuel, developed by combining human nuclear science with luminary technology. "Starting containment field," David announced. He pressed several buttons, and a dome of shimmering energy formed over the platform. "Power at 20%, 40%. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Robert rushed to the nearest screen. "We've got a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up void entity activity. They're early. They shouldn't be here yet." "We'd have to continue," Sarah insisted. "This might be our only chance." The ship's lights flickered as more power flowed into the containment field. The blue cylinder began to float, spinning faster and faster. Light poured from it, growing brighter by the second. "Something's wrong," one of the luminary scientists called out. "The field is becoming unstable." David ran to the controls, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "The void entities, they're affecting our power supply somehow. The field is collapsing." "Everyone out," Robert ordered. But Sarah didn't move. Instead, she ran toward the platform. "Sarah, no," David shouted. But she had already reached the controls. "We need to stabilize it manually. I can do it, but you all need to leave. Now." Robert started forward to pull her back, but David grabbed his arm. "She's right. She's the only one who understands both the human and luminary systems well enough. We have to trust her." Reluctantly, Robert helped evacuate the chamber. Through the observation window, they watched as Sarah worked frantically at the controls. The spinning cylinder was now a ball of pure light, almost too bright to look at. Come on," Sarah muttered. Her fingers danced across the panel, making tiny adjustments. The containment field flickered, grew stronger, then stabilized. The ball of light settled into a steady glow. She had done it. In the middle of the Phoenix's testing chamber floated a tiny artificial star, no bigger than a basketball, but shining with real stellar fire. When Sarah finally emerged from the chamber, exhausted but smiling, the whole crew broke into cheers. Even the luminaries seemed excited, their skin glowing brighter than usual. "It's beautiful," Robert said, looking at their creation. "But will it be enough?" "This is just the beginning." Sarah replied. Now we know it's possible. We can make them bigger, stronger. We can replace the light that the void entities steal. David checked his instruments. The darkness that was approaching our solar system, it's pulled back. They felt what we did here. They know we can fight back. Then let's get to work, Robert said firmly. Because this isn't just about saving Earth anymore. We're going to relight every star they've stolen, one by one if we have to. The tiny star continued to shine behind them, a beacon of hope in the growing darkness. Humanity had just taken its first step toward fighting back against the void. The emergency alarms on the Phoenix blared as three massive void entities approached the ship. David Miller stood at the main controls of Project Prometheus, his hand steady despite the danger. Behind him, the prototype star generator hummed with power. They're trying to drain our artificial star, Sarah shouted from her station. Power levels dropping. Captain Robert Hayes' voice came through the speakers. We can't lose that generator. It's the only working prototype we have left. David looked at the readings and made his decision. Sarah, get the backup data to the Luminary ship. I'll hold them off. David, no. Sarah knew what he was planning. There has to be another way. There isn't time, he said calmly. Someone needs to manually override the safety protocols. That will give the star enough power to push them back. But he didn't finish the sentence. They both knew what would happen to anyone in the room when the containment field was removed. Through the windows, they could see the void entities, huge patches of absolute darkness that seemed to eat the light around them. The artificial star in the generator was flickering, growing dimmer by the second. Go, David ordered. Get the data to safety. This is what I can do to help. Sarah grabbed the backup drives and ran for the exit, tears in her eyes. As the door closed behind her, she heard David begin the override sequence. Captain, David's voice was calm over the radio. Get the ship to a safe distance. And it's been an honor. The Phoenix's engines roared to life, pulling away from the generator room. Through the rear cameras, Sarah watched as David worked at the controls one last time. The artificial star suddenly blazed brilliantly, breaking free of its containment. The burst of pure stellar energy pushed the void entities back, scattering them like leaves in a storm. When the light faded, the generator room was gone, but David's sacrifice had saved both ships and all their crews. In the days that followed, Sarah threw herself into her work. She refused to let David's death be for nothing. The luminary scientists helped her analyze the data from the explosion, and slowly a new understanding emerged. Look at these readings, she told Captain Hayes one evening, pointing to her screen. When the containment field dropped, the star's energy didn't just push the void entities away, it hurt them. They can be wounded by concentrated stellar power. Robert studied the data. Can we use this? Build some kind of weapon. Better, Sarah said. We can build a whole network of artificial stars, not just for light and heat, but for defense. If we can create enough of them in the right pattern, we could make a wall of light, Robert finished. A barrier they can't cross. News of their discovery spread quickly. More alien ships arrived at Earth, bringing refugees from worlds already lost to the darkness. Each species offered their own knowledge and technology. Together, they began building something bigger than anyone had imagined. High above Earth, giant construction ships worked day and night. They were building the first section of what they called the Light Bridge, a chain of artificial stars that would connect the surviving solar systems. Sarah watched the construction from the Phoenix's observation deck. New hope had replaced her grief. David would have loved to see this, she said quietly. Robert stood beside her. He can see it. His work made all of this possible. A group of luminary engineers floated past the window in their spacesuits, guiding a massive piece of equipment into place. On the other side of the ship, representatives from 12 different alien species were meeting to plan the next phase of construction. We're not running anymore, Sarah realized. For the first time since the stars started going dark, We're actually fighting back. The first test of the light bridge was scheduled for the next day. If it worked, they would finally have a way to protect whole sectors of space from the void entities. If it failed, but Sarah wouldn't let herself think about failure. She touched the window, looking out at the construction ships. Somewhere out there, the darkness was still spreading, still hungry. But now humanity had found its answer. They would fight the void with light itself, building new stars to replace the ones that were lost. David had shown them it was possible. Now it was up to the living to finish what he had started. The Phoenix shuddered as another wave of dark energy hit its shields. Engineer Amy Foster stood at her new control station, her fingers dancing across the glowing panels. The ship's artificial star core pulsed with energy, powering the defensive screen she had designed. Shields holding at 60%. She called out, "The new energy distribution network is working." Captain Robert Hayes nodded from his command chair. "Sarah, how's the light bridge looking?" Dr. Sarah Chen checked her readings. The massive chain of artificial stars they had built stretched out behind them, connecting Earth to 3 other solar systems. Each star shone with the same light that David had helped create before his sacrifice. "Bridge is stable," she reported. "The void entities can't break through the light barrier." Through the main viewport, they could see their enemies. 5 massive patches of darkness that seemed to eat the space around them. But unlike before, the void entities couldn't get close. Amy's shields transformed stellar energy into a protective barrier that pushed back against the darkness. "They're trying something new," Amy warned. "Power readings are changing." The void patches began to merge, forming one giant mass of darkness. The temperature on the bridge dropped as the entity drew in all heat and light around it. "All power to forward shields," Robert ordered. Amy's hands flew across her controls. "It's not enough. We need more power." Sarah jumped up from her station. "The bridge. We can draw power from the whole network." It was a crazy idea. No one had ever tried to channel energy from multiple artificial stars at once. But they were out of options. Annie quickly rewired her systems while Sarah calculated the power flow. The ship's computers buzzed with warnings as they pushed them far beyond their design limits. Suddenly, all the artificial stars in the light bridge flared at once. Energy poured into the Phoenix's shields. The bridge lit up so bright everyone had to shield their eyes. When they could see again, the giant void entity was gone. In its place was empty space, filled with normal starlight. We destroyed it," Sarah whispered in amazement. "Not just pushed it back, we actually destroyed it." The crew broke into cheers, but Amy was still focused on her readings. "Look at this," she said, waving Sarah over. When all that power hit it, the void entity didn't just die. It changed. Sarah studied the data. "These energy patterns, they're almost like brainwaves. The void entities aren't just eating light. They're alive." Before they could process this discovery, a new alert sounded. More ships were arriving through the light bridge, but these weren't refugees. They were warships coming to join the fight. "The Luminary Fleet," Robert explained, smiling. "They've been gathering allies from every surviving system. Now that we've proven the void entities can be destroyed, we can take the fight to them," Sarah finished. Over the next few hours, ships from a dozen different species gathered around the Phoenix. Each one carried its own artificial star core, built using the plans humanity had shared. Amy worked with engineers from other ships, teaching them how to link their power systems together. "If we can coordinate all our stars," she explained, "we can hit them with even more power than before." Sarah found herself looking at a star map in the conference room. Red marks showed where the void entities had already consumed natural stars. But now, new blue dots were appearing. Artificial stars created by the growing alliance. "We're not just replacing what was lost," she realized. "We're building something new, something better." Robert joined her at the map. David would be proud. His sacrifice showed us the way. A luminary captain entered the room, their skin glowing with excitement. We're picking up distress signals from the Orion Arm. 3 solar systems, still fighting against the darkness. If we hurry. Plot a course, Robert ordered. Amy, is the fleet ready? The young engineer gave a thumbs up from her station. Power systems are linked and synchronized. Just say the word. Sarah took her place at the science station, feeling David's absence but also his legacy. They had learned to create stars, to build bridges of light across the darkness of space. Now they would learn to use that light as a weapon. All ships, prepare for jump, Robert commanded. We're going to show these void entities that humanity knows how to fight fire with fire. The Phoenix led the fleet into the light bridge, carrying hope to those still trapped in the darkness. Behind them, Earth's sun shone a little brighter, protected by a ring of artificial stars that would never go cold. The war room aboard the Phoenix buzzed with activity. Holograms showed hundreds of blue dots spread across the galaxy, each one an artificial star created by the Alliance. Sarah Chen studied the new reports coming in, while around her, representatives from 20 different alien species planned their next moves. Another success in the Carina sector, she announced. The refugee fleet made it through the new light bridge. That's 12 more systems connected to our network. Amy Foster looked up from her engineering station, where she was teaching a group of alien technicians. The new stars are burning brighter than ever. Each system we save makes our network stronger. But not everyone brought good news. A tall luminary commander stepped forward, his skin glowing dim with worry. We've detected something strange in the void zones. The entities are changing. The room fell quiet as he brought up a new hologram. It showed a massive void entity, bigger than any they'd seen before. But this one was different. It had structure, purpose. It wasn't just consuming light randomly anymore. They're learning, Sarah realized. They're adapting to our defenses. Captain Robert Hayes studied the image carefully. How many systems have reported seeing these new types? 7 so far, the luminary replied. And there's more. We think they're trying to communicate. Sarah's head snapped up. What? A recording played through the ship's speakers. It was mostly static, but underneath was a pattern. A signal hidden in the darkness between stars. Sarah rushed to analyze it. It's not random, she said after a few minutes. These are words, translated through void energy. They're saying, she paused, her face going pale. They're saying the light hurts us. The light has always hurt us. The room erupted in discussion. Some wanted to try talking to the void entities to find a peaceful solution. Others argued it was a trick, that the darkness couldn't be trusted. Look at this part of the signal, Amy called out suddenly. She'd been running her own analysis. There's something hidden deeper in the pattern. It's coordinates. Sarah worked with Amy to decode the hidden message. What they found changed everything they thought they knew about their enemy. They're not invaders, Sarah announced to the stunned room. They're refugees like us. They came from a universe where all the stars had already died. They've been consuming our stars because they don't know any other way to survive. Robert frowned. But we've seen them destroy entire systems. Because our light burns them, Amy said quietly. Imagine living in total darkness, and then suddenly being exposed to a bright light. It hurts. They're just trying to make their new home more like their old one. The luminary commander's glow pulsed with understanding. So when we create artificial stars, we're making it impossible for them to live here, Sarah finished. We're fighting for survival, but so are they. A heavy silence fell over the war room. The star map continued to spin, showing both the growing network of artificial light and the spreading patches of darkness. Amy suddenly sat up straight. Wait, what if we could modify the artificial stars? Create a new kind of light that doesn't hurt them? Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. If we could tune the energy output, find a frequency that both our species could tolerate, we'd need to completely redesign the star cores, Amy said, already pulling up schematics. But with what we've learned about void energy, Robert looked at the alien representatives around the room. We'd be changing everything we've built. The entire light bridge network would need to be converted. Better than destroying an entire species, Sarah replied. David sacrificed himself to show us how to create light. But maybe the real breakthrough isn't just making new stars. It's learning to share them. The room filled with discussion again, but this time with hope instead of fear. Aliens and humans worked together, combining their knowledge of light and darkness. Engineers began modifying star core designs while scientists studied the void energy patterns. Through the Phoenix's windows, they could see one of their artificial stars burning bright. Soon, it might shine with a new kind of light, one that could illuminate the way forward for both species. The war against the darkness wasn't over, but maybe it could end not with destruction, but with understanding. Humanity had learned to light an inferno in the darkness of space. Now they would learn to tend that fire so everyone could warm themselves by it. The Phoenix led a fleet of 10,000 ships toward the largest gathering of void entities ever seen. At her engineering station, Amy Foster's hands trembled slightly as she checked the modified star core one last time. Power levels stable, she reported. The new frequency is holding. Sarah Chen nodded, but kept her eyes on the sensors. The void ahead of them was massive. A darkness so complete it seemed to swallow the light of distant galaxies. Inside that darkness waited the collective consciousness of the void entities. All ships report ready, Captain Robert Hayes announced. Amy, Sarah, are we sure about this? Sarah touched the small photo of David she kept at her station. The simulations all work. If we can get close enough to their core consciousness, we can show them there's another way. The plan was risky. They would use the combined power of all their modified artificial stars to create a bridge, not of normal light, but of the new energy they had developed, a light that could exist alongside the darkness. First wave, move forward, Robert ordered. The fleet began its advance. Through the view screens, they watched as the first ships approached the edge of the void. This was the moment of truth, if they were wrong about the new frequency. But the ships passed through the darkness unharmed. The void didn't try to consume their modified stars. It's working, Amy exclaimed. Power levels remaining stable. The void isn't fighting us. More ships followed, forming a massive sphere around the center of the void. Each vessel added its power to the network, creating a web of soft, strange light that didn't burn the darkness, but didn't fade either. Suddenly, all the ship's computers activated at once. A message scrolled across their screens in every known language. You have CKNG the burning. Why? Sarah leaned forward to send their reply. Because we want to understand, to find a way we can both survive. There was a long pause. The void seemed to pulse around them, like a giant heartbeat. We remember light. The response finally came. From long ago, before our stars died, we FLAD here, when our UNIVRZ went dark, but your light burned us. We only wanted to make it dark enough to alive. We can make it work for both of us, Sarah sent back. Look at our stars now. Feel their energy. It doesn't have to hurt. Amy's console lit up with new readings. There they're trying to connect with our network. The void around them began to change. Instead of fighting the modified starlight, it started to flow with it, creating patterns of light and shadow that moved like waves. Amazing, the luminary commander whispered. They're not just accepting the light, they're learning to use it. Sarah watched in awe as the patterns grew more complex. The void was learning to shape the new energy, just as they had learned to shape traditional starlight. But suddenly alarms blared across the fleet. Power surge, Amy shouted. Something's overloading the network. The artificial stars began to flare brighter. The void patterns became chaotic, clashing with the light in violent bursts of energy. The frequency is destabilizing, Sarah reported. We need to stabilize it now, or we'll lose everything. Amy's fingers flew across her controls. I can't balance it from here. Someone needs to go to the main core chamber and adjust it manually. Without hesitation, Amy unstrapped herself from her station. I built these cores. I can fix this. Amy? No. Sarah tried to stop her. The radiation levels in there. We have one chance to make this work, Amy said firmly. To end this war without destroying either side. I can do this. Before anyone could stop her, Amy ran from the bridge. Through the internal cameras, they watched her enter the star core chamber. Her hands moved quickly, adjusting controls as energy sparked around her. Slowly, the power levels began to stabilize. The void patterns smoothed out, falling into harmony with the modified starlight. But Amy's image on the camera grew fainter as the radiation took its toll. As she made the final adjustments, Amy smiled at the camera. "Look," she whispered. "It's beautiful." The view through the Phoenix's windows proved her right. Light and darkness danced together, creating something entirely new. Neither side had to die for the other to live. Amy Foster gave her life to show both species a better way. And in the space where stars once went cold, a new kind of light began to shine. 1 year after the great joining of light and darkness, Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the New Earth space station. Below her, Earth's sun shone with a different light now, a gentle mixture of traditional starlight and void energy that both species could share. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" Captain Robert Hayes joined her at the window. His uniform now bore the symbol of the Joint Species Council, a star wrapped in shadow. "Hard to believe how far we've come," Sarah replied, watching a group of void beings dance through space nearby. They no longer appeared as threatening patches of darkness, but as graceful shapes that played with both light and shadow. David and Amy would have loved to see this. The station's main hall had 2 memorials. One showed David Miller at his research station, the moment he discovered how to create artificial stars. The other showed Amy Foster at her engineering controls, her final smile captured forever as she gave her life to bring peace. But their sacrifices had changed the galaxy forever. The void entities, now called the shadow dancers by most species, had shared their knowledge of dark energy. Combined with humanity's artificial stars, it created a new way of living. Message from the Luminary Fleet, Robert's communicator chimed. They finished converting the last sector of the light bridge. The entire network now runs on the combined energy system. Sarah nodded. The light bridge had grown far beyond its original design. Now it connected thousands of systems, using both light and darkness to create stable pathways through space. Ships could travel faster than ever before, surfing the waves of combined energy. A small group of human children ran past them, chasing floating balls of shadow light, a new kind of toy created by joining both technologies. Behind them walked a shadow dancer teacher, gently guiding the darkness to keep the children's games safe. "The new colony ships are ready," Robert said after a while. "They're going to try reaching the shadow dancers' original universe. See if we can help bring light back to their old homes too." Sarah smiled. Humanity had come so far from those first terrifying days when the stars began to dim. Instead of an ending, it had become a beginning. The station's alert system chimed softly. Sarah checked her tablet. "The first generation of hybrid stars is ready to launch. Want to watch?" They moved to the main control room. Scientists and shadow dancers worked side by side at the controls. These weren't the modified artificial stars they'd been using. These were completely new, designed from the ground up to generate both light and dark energy naturally. "Launch sequence starting," a technician announced. Through the massive window, they watched as the first hybrid star activated. It didn't burn with the harsh light of a normal star, nor did it create pure darkness. Instead, it pulsed with waves of both energies, creating a soft twilight that felt like dawn and dusk combined. "Energy readings stable," another technician reported. "Both species showing optimal comfort levels." "We did it." Cheers erupted around the room. Shadow dancers expressed their joy by creating beautiful patterns of darkness that played through the light. Humans hugged each other and clapped. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "The stars aren't going cold anymore," she whispered. "We're making new ones, better ones, together." The shadow dancers had shared their final message from their core consciousness. "In darkness, we found light. In light, we found peace." Those words now decorated the main hall of every space station, written in both human languages and void patterns. As Sarah and Robert watched, more hybrid stars winked into life across the sector. Each one represented hope, not just for survival, but for something greater. Understanding, growth, change. "What's next?" Robert asked, smiling at his old friend. Sarah looked out at the galaxy, where light and darkness now danced in harmony. "We keep exploring, keep learning, keep building bridges." She touched the memorial plaques gently. That's what they would have wanted. A group of new cadets, both human and shadow dancer, passed by on their way to training. They would be the first generation to grow up knowing both light and darkness as friends, not enemies. The stars hadn't gone cold after all. Instead, humanity had helped create something new. A galaxy where light and dark existed together, each making the other stronger. And in the space between the stars, hope burned brighter than ever.